Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the 4 a.m. podcast, but at 5 a.m. In this episode, we're going to talk about strength versus weakness, things that make you feel strong, things that make you feel weak, being weak and finding strength, and being strong but finding weakness. Today, I am talking to y'all from the beautiful beaches of Puerto Rico. Me and my lady have came to visit her family, to see the Bad Bunny concert and to look up at wedding venues. Right now I'm just on a beautiful beach, walking around, listening to the waves, clear my mind, and talking to y'all. So, things that make us strong and things that make us weak. I feel like the first thing we should talk about is probably ego, right? We live in a world right now where everyone's so fragile. Everyone feels the need to be strong. Everyone feels the need to complain and cry a lot. We're living in a world where we're only living in the extremes. Only the extremely weak and the extremely strong are loud enough to say something. And there's a time for both, but there's never a time to be all one or all the other, I believe. In terms of being strong, you gotta decide first who you are. We talked in previous episodes about making choices, understanding who you are, what you want to do, and what it means to you. It's all stuff that you have to be weak first in order to find that strength in it. And that's where a lot of people who say are strong, you can quickly reveal them and see how weak they are by simply asking, who are you? What are you doing? What's up? Weak people automatically get defensive, aggressive. It's all insecurity, right? The strong people, at least, or the weak people, at least, who come off as strong, quote unquote, they react quickly. They feel the need to defend themselves because they truly themselves don't understand what is or isn't being affected when you ask them questions about themselves. Whoa, this is a beautiful little spot I found. And hopefully y'all can hear me through these waves. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know. But since I'm doing everything raw from now on, hopefully this episode's fine. Hopefully y'all can talk through it or listen through it while I talk. But as they are weak, in my case, I'll always see as weak men. Weak men who show themselves are strong are always either the loudest, the most flamboyant, excessively showing their strength, their feats of strength and whatnot. when other people are just trying to enjoy their lives. As far as women, I'm lucky enough to not have experienced too many females in this way, but we have social media to thank for opening our eyes to other experiences. Weak women who pose as strong, take advantage of their man, get upset when men are vulnerable, expressing some form of expression, emotional expression. And that really gets in the way of anybody moving forward. Can't really open up conversations to weak people posing off as strong because they just assume you're offending them. They just assume that you mean ill will towards them. A lot of weak people will assume not really have the strength to or courage to open up to others. So, with a lot of weakness, how do you even move forward in these conversations? Unfortunately, we're at a point where, because we're dealing with so much extremes, it's best just to walk away, leave them alone. There's never a room for teaching or expanding. It's just, all right, dude. All right, ma'am. Bye. But on the opposite end, you also have people with really strong beliefs, strong people who show themselves as weak. Maybe you just have a really good idea, but you get scared or shy. Maybe you want to share with somebody, but they don't really like it, so you cower away and retreat. I personally fluctuate between these two extremes, Sometimes I feel the need to speak up over my own personal emotions, and that, can be seen as weakness. Only because I'm not really fighting for what I want or what I'm believing. I'm just fighting because I'm emotional. Other times, the moment I see rejection, I begin to fear. Fear that I can't open up, fear that I can't be myself, so, I hide who I am, hide my interests, hide my people, hide my life. So, how does one, change from these situations? Well, obviously you gotta define yourself first, right? We talked about previously about defining what is important to you versus important to others. But the thing is that in order to be strong, you have to keep carrying out your desires and to do what you can. And it's not just like values as like emotional value, like I want to be happy all the time. That's impossible. That's not realistic. Because the moment you're not happy, you'll become the weakest person you've ever met. You'll reject, you'll refuse. You'll become ignorant to the fact that you could be better. Ooh, that water's nice. So it's important to define things that will give you strength, things that do make you weak. Me personally, and this is as cheesy as it sounds, but they're really good values: God, family, and myself, right? I value myself, I value my family, and I value my religion. You don't necessarily have to follow God himself, but you got to be in tune with your spirit. We kind of are going to go back and forth between strength and weakness here because they kind of go hand in hand. In order to be strong, you have to realize that you're weak in some areas. That's the best anime tropes ever, right? Where the weak character, in my head, like Asta from Black Clover, has no magic, no power, but he knows himself. He knows he wants to be Wizard King. He knows he wants to do better, get better, and succeed in his own path. So that's believing in yourself, finding strength within yourself, right? Because you realize that you yourself are weak at this current stage because you want to get to somewhere better. Finding strength in family, you got to understand what that means to you, right? You don't always just have to go beat up every person that wrongs your family, but you got to understand that building these strong relationships within your family can get you to succeed in areas where you couldn't have done it yourself. Family isn't just blood relatives, friends, acquaintances, co-workers. All of these people will, as cheesy as it sounds, they will all give you strength in order to become better. Being strong enough to set your family straight, set your friends straight. That's what separates, the tough from the weak. Weak people would just let their family do whatever they want because they're just family. They're just friends. Oh yeah, that's my buddy. He does that stuff. He talks bad about women. Yeah, but that's cool though. I like him. He's my best friend. Oh yeah, my family's going off on these waiters. It's cool though. The waiters are messing up. They're going against my family. But being strong within your spirit, that'll help you decide, all the stuff we talked about previously. Whether you decide what's important to you, whether you decide to live life, hate life, that's how you find out. Maybe you had so many experiences where you've been wronged. Where you probably are like, you know what? I probably shouldn't be allowed to live anymore. Maybe I shouldn't be allowed to go out adventuring because I don't deserve it. Being in tune with your spirit allows you to do that. And in order to find out what you like and what you don't, you have to be weak. You have to be weak enough to admit your own faults. Be weak enough to listen to others, whether you believe them or not. And you got to be weak enough, and in my case, to listen to God. Something that I personally try practicing is giving thanks and repenting. Both are forms of strength and weakness. I show my weakness to God by understanding that I'm not a perfect human being. And I understand that He doesn't expect me to, which is why we have options like going to church, which is why we have prayers. We don't just ask, we also give. We give God the sins that we've done so He can absolve them. But that also takes strength to be weak. Can you sit down with the almighty judge of the world and say, yo, I fucked up bad. I did something I shouldn't have. Be weak enough to ask forgiveness, you know? That's as strong as you can get. That's another form of being strong. Practicing being weak shows you empathy for those who can or cannot do it themselves. And then, from there, you can be strong. Once you've realized, like, these are my ideals, this is my family, this is my religion, that's how you can be strong. That's how you can become a little stubborn-headed about certain stuff. Yo, don't talk about my religion like that. Hey, my family member is good, he just messed up. How about you back off and cut him some slack? Yo, I made a mistake, but I'm still trying to fix it. Don't just, get mad at me as I'm actually trying to make an effort. That's how you become strong and stand up for yourself, right? I feel like in this world, men and women keep dividing themselves into roles. Well, you should do this, you should do that, and then falling back on those ideals of society. That's the weak people, trend followers, and even trendsetters. ¿Por qué me das un pinche crab?
He's a shell.
He's a shell?
He's not alive. He died.
Oh, what? Oh, yeah, I see it. Let me see.
Don't squish it, though.
He popped out of back there. Yo, that's cool. No crab legs for this guy. So, strength and weakness. Super personal. It hits you right in the ego. But that doesn't mean that you should fight back at it just because it gets taken a toll. It doesn't mean that people are gonna hate you or dislike. Well, maybe it might mean that they dislike you, but be strong enough to be able to take that judgment. Be strong enough to be able to speak your mind, but also be weak enough to listen. It's a ebb and flow. You go back and forth in these ideals all the time. Since the world is constantly changing, we gotta constantly think and evolve with it as well. Don't let your ego, keep you from having a beautiful conversation with somebody just because you don't like something they say. That's being weak. So, what are ways that you can become? Let's talk about weakness for a little bit. Weakness can also be the starting point of where you're at. Weakness is easier to than becoming stronger. It's always easy to get emotional, get upset, and have your mind clouded. It's easier to give in to your urges. It's easier to get upset at someone calling you out. Easier to get upset at someone correcting you. It's easier to stay at home. It's easier to be weak than it is to be strong. Being strong means that you've thought about the situation, you've given it its time, you've using past experiences for this current one. It's easy. Being weak is where you are right now. Even if you claim to be strong. Even if you claim to be strong, being weak is where you are right now. Easier to work on, jobs or stuff like that than it is to sometimes just deal with your family. Sometimes it's easier to sit on the couch and watch TV all day. Oh, well, there's nothing wrong with that. You gotta find areas to grow. Be strong enough to put off your urges for a while until you've worked on becoming strong. So personally, I like to wake up early to challenge myself, right? I know that I'm going to be weak for the day, so I try to push myself a little bit. I care a lot about my health, so working out is where I'm important. I understand that I make mistakes and there's a chicken. I understand that I make mistakes, but I'm also weak enough to admit it and grow from it. To be ignorant isn't to be strong. Because I understand that there's more to life than just what I'm doing. So that's how you gotta grow. That's how you become strong. That's how you learn a bunch of different areas and cultures and experiences.
Oh.
So let's grow. Let's become strong people. Let's be weak for once, right? Try to share your vulnerabilities with each other. If you're lucky enough to have a significant other, try to have a serious talk with them, genuinely. Be like, yo, I got things that I just want to be able to communicate or share with you. I want to know more about you. I want to be able to talk to you. I want to be able to be myself around you. Just think about all of the dreams you may have had as a kid, or ideas, or hell, even just things you did. Maybe you don't do them anymore, not because I don't have the time. We talked about that, right? We talked about priorities, so we can move on past that. Maybe you're just shy enough to do it. Maybe you're just too scared about what other people might say. That's good. You know what you may want, and you know that it matters a little bit enough to you. So try to grow. Try to be strong, right? Try to step up and have some courage and be who you want to be. Now, if you're going to start interrupting other people's happiness, cause people to have unwanted emotions, because some people may just want to be able to be sad. and you forcing them to be happy is not really it. Maybe people want to be happy and you're making them upset and sad, you know. Rather than taking offense to that, be understanding. That makes you stronger than anyone. You know, something I've learned working, and I work with kids, is that if you don't show them how to be strong, these kids will just listen to whatever's on their phones, listen to whatever media tells them, do whatever, you know, stuff like Love Island. People are so obsessed with that, but what if you were out there having these romantic relationships with people? Oh, but I'm too ugly. Well, change your habits, you know? You understand that you as a person may be ugly, or you understand that you as a person aren't getting any dates or any good conversations with people. Sure, maybe that pretty girl that you want is really shallow, or that guy that you're talking to only talks about himself. Be weak enough to admit, damn, I chose the wrong person, and keep looking. Work on yourself. Don't work on, you know, trying to find a checklist of traits for these people. Work on yourself. That makes you more attractive than anything, right? But unfortunately, we live in a time where we value people's opinions way too much. Or they're gonna like my post, or they're gonna comment on it. You know, how many views am I gonna get? You know, is it all worth it? And that, you know, restricts people from doing that. Like, I have something that I'm personally working on is not caring about views and likes and stuff like that. How? Well, with this podcast, I haven't really advertised it, nor do I care to, because then that'll, at least not at this moment, right? I want to work on this content and making it quality first. So rather than caring about the views and the likes, the shares, the popularity, I'm working on actually making quality content that hopefully somebody can either relate to, they can learn from, or just simply enjoy listening to. And that requires me to be weak by sharing my own personal thoughts and opinions in an almost unscripted way. I'm also working on trying to become stronger because I want to make a YouTube gaming channel. But the gaming channel isn't for views or anything like that. I'm strong enough to admit that. It's for me, myself, and I. That's what I'm doing to make myself either be better. And to some, me making a video game channel is like, bro, what are you doing wasting your time? Well, I'm practicing consistency. I'm practicing finishing a job. I'm practicing, you know, doing something that I set out to in the beginning, even if it's just playing video games. We gotta learn how to have fun once again. Something else I learned with being with the kids is showing your strength by being weak. You know, I had to teach a lot of these kids how to play different skills, how to communicate with each other. And a lot of the stuff that I'm teaching them, I'm realizing that we don't really get taught that. We don't really socialize enough with people to try and make mistakes and learn, oh, I shouldn't say this, I shouldn't say that. But you gotta learn to play. You gotta learn to have fun. Be weak enough that you can be yourself and strong enough to stand up for what you want to do. In the case that, let's say, you are having fun and someone bullies you, you know, if you're at this point, hopefully you're confident enough to know who you are and confident enough to be yourself, that when somebody shares some hate towards you or dislikes a certain part of what you're doing, you're strong enough to keep your chin up and continue doing as you were. But don't be weak enough where you're letting your emotions get to you to the point that now you're arguing with somebody who just sent hate towards you. You're feeding into it, you know? Being strong isn't just arguing to make the right points. It's not being the loudest. It's not being the most physical. It's about, despite all circumstances, you still stay who you are. And you still defend yourself properly. Your ego isn't worth something defending. It's worth, recreating and breaking down and continuously working on that. Ego and pride will always be the death of you. So don't die just because you got upset. Don't die because someone said something you didn't like. It's cool. Let it be. That's why I personally believe that spiritually you should be strong where you can admit your faults. Sometimes what we label as weakness is actually self-protection. Like I mentioned earlier, when somebody questions your character, you may get upset that they're even doing that because you're just trying to define who you are. Understanding that differences of values doesn't necessarily mean that they are trying to, how do I say it, like impose their will on you. Some people just want to share it. It's not necessarily a sign that somebody's trying to take over you, but maybe you just aren't confident enough in your own abilities or your own life. I found that when you feel strong, it's good to remind yourself to be humble. Humbling yourself is a way to start back at being weak and where you can become stronger again. Pretending that you know something more than somebody else. If you humble yourself, you can learn something new. By believing that you're deserving of respect or deserving of items, objects, or experiences can lead you to just exposing your weak points. Humbling yourself can remind you that you're strong enough to show your weaknesses, but you're willing to get better, to do something about it. Strength isn't just, pushing through. It's understanding the situation. It's knowing when to pull back, when to feel your emotions, acknowledge them, when to rest, and even when to play. Discipline is a strength, but so is the trust that you put in yourself. And some of my own personal experiences, and I feel like this may go for a lot of men in general, we've been put in a position where by showing weakness, we may lose a lot more than what we're gaining. Some men can't be vulnerable in front of women because those women will take advantage. Whether they see you as lesser, whether they see you as not enough, it gets taken advantage of. And we're not strong enough to acknowledge that we're hurting, or we're not even strong enough to do something about it. Sure, we may be physically stronger. Sure, we may be more disciplined. But like I said, that trust in yourself to be able to feel, to be able to go through your own emotions, that's also a strength. Strength that many men may not have. In my experiences, in terms of like women, I've grown up with being one of the only boys for a really long time. Grew up with 6 aunts, and they showed me how to be weak in ways that you take advantage of other people's strengths. And that's not really building any type of character, because you're still the same person using others for personal gain. No, as much as I can't really speak for women, because I'm not one, nor do I experience it, but I've seen them, and I've heard them, and I can empathize with their situation. A big weakness in women, I would say, and this may be a touchy subject for everybody, is weight. Personal, what do I say? Personal image. How they view themselves as beautiful or not. I would say that we currently live in a society where a lot of the weak traits in women have come together to build strength, and that's awesome. But rather than to build strength in terms of bettering themselves or one another, they, like I said, they use that weakness to take advantage of the strong. While no one likes to be told they're ugly, they're small, they're big, they're skinny, they're fat, people don't understand that there's something you could always do about it. That's where you gotta humble yourself, right? With my wife, I've had to kind of push her and shove her into trusting herself. Me personally as a man, and this may be a selfish thing that I've done, but
me personally, as a man who wants to like continuously grow, it's very difficult being held back by somebody who not just has no confidence in themselves, but sees every flaw and only sees them flaws constantly. So I had to show her ways of, despite opinions, despite standard norms of weight, looks, makeup, dressing. What's important is that when you look at yourself in the mirror, you feel good. And if you don't feel good, it's okay as well. Be strong enough to look at yourself in the mirror, but be weak enough to understand that you aren't where you want to be. At least not yet. And I think that yet part is what a lot of people just kind of skip over. And it sucks. But to become stronger, you gotta do this consistently. Consistently believing in yourself. Consistently finding relationships that not just better you, but better them. Continuously and consistently building your relationship with your spirit, that person inside of you. That person inside of you is the religious part of you. Whether you're Buddhist and you look inwards, whether you're a Christian and you look upwards, or maybe you're atheist and you look around. I think it's important to build the knowledge of what you believe in. And this talk may seem pretty scattered. We started at the beach, and now we're ending at night. For those who may or may not realize, this episode will not come out at 5 a.m., and it didn't. If anything, I am still recording it on the 1st. And that's me showing my weakness. I didn't get to do it on time. I didn't push through hard enough. But I humble myself and understand what I want. I want to get this podcast out every month on the 1st. So what am I going to do about it? Stay weak and cry and complain. And then if I miss this month, probably I'm going to miss the next month as well. So I made a choice. I looked inwards and said, this is what I want to do and this is what I should do. So here I am, still doing it regardless. And it's not going to be perfect. Nor should it be. Take some of my experience and apply it to your own. You may be fat, but you know where you want to be. You know you want to eat more. You know you want to lose weight. So do it. Do it consistently. Me personally, I've been skinny my whole life. And I understand that I want to gain weight. And for some may be easy, because it may be easy for you to gain weight. It may be easy for me to stay skinny. But we don't share the same lives to have the same goals, or for either of us to be affected the same by somebody else's experience. That's the strength. understanding who you are and sticking true to those beliefs. And if you don't want to be somebody who's constantly fighting, constantly on edge, constantly defending yourself, then you'll be weak enough to humble yourself when you hear a difference of opinion. Maybe take as much or as little as you need from that conversation and move on. Grow from there. If somebody calls you ugly, maybe hear out why they think you're ugly. While their opinion doesn't really matter, you are looking for areas to grow. They may say you're ugly because the way you do your makeup. Maybe they're right. Maybe it does look a little funky, right? Getting upset over it just shows weakness. But listening them, and of course it's all up to you. You may or may not want to change it. But at least you understand that that may not be the crowd you're looking for. Maybe you're going after a cute person and they don't find you attractive, but you want them to find you attractive. There's things you can do about it. There's conversational weight, that's a way that you can always improve on becoming more beautiful. Being able to hold conversations with people of different cultures, of different opinions. Sure, fitness is always an easy one, but maybe you don't want to go to the gym. Enjoy life. Go look at trees. Go walk in the park. Maybe you hate being outside. Play some indoor basketball. Play some ice hockey. Oh, but I suck. It's okay. No one but yourself expects you to be strong. No one but yourself expects you to be perfect. No one but you puts these weak mentalities in your head. It's up to you to find the strength to move forward. Is being bad at a sport a weakness? Not necessarily. Is understanding that you're bad and refusing to play or refusing to train or refusing to get better, is that a weakness? It can be. It can be. Is crying a weakness? It can be, depending on what you're crying about. If you're constantly crying, then you gotta build strength to carry the weight of the world. The world sucks. It does. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Maybe you never cry because you're too scared to show any weakness. That's not strength. Is asking for help weakness? It depends, right? If you're constantly asking for help, constantly having people do stuff for you, that can be pretty weak because you never learn how to do anything yourself. You become a burden by pulling people's attention towards you. On the other hand, never asking for help can also be weakness. You never speak up. You never acknowledge that you're tired. You never acknowledge that you don't know what you're doing. True strength might look like a vulnerability. You have to put yourself vulnerable. Because when you show your strengths, you also show your weaknesses. And you have to be okay with showing your weaknesses in front of people sometimes. Because that's how you may build relationships. Understanding when to be weak can keep you from getting taken advantage of. Mentally, these are things you gotta think about. Physically, what are you actually doing about anything? Have you taken any action once you've acknowledged your weaknesses? I've acknowledged that I'm not gaining any weight despite how much I'm going to the gym or how much I think I'm eating. The strength comes in the actions that I put behind my desires. How much how much do I really want to gain weight? What am I actually going to do about it? Should I just eat more rice? Should I just eat more food? That's up to me. That's my path. But my strength will come in carving that path out for myself. It requires a lot to be physically strong. Like I said, that consistency behind your actions will determine how strong you become. My own personal fitness journey has been a test of my strength. Not just because I'm pushing heavy weight, but because that demands me waking up early, making sure I'm fed, going to sleep on time, making sure I'm tracking my progress. That's a lot of work just to gain weight and work out. Sometimes you overwork yourself. I remember when I was working at Amazon during COVID, 12-hour shifts became too much. At the end of peak season, holidays, Thanksgiving, Cyber Monday, after all of that, I left the job with bruised knuckles, inflamed, barely even able to close a fist. Me taking a break and understanding that to tire myself out is not to be strong. To distract myself with money or a job or work is not being strong. I literally neglected a part of myself. You also have, like I mentioned, relationship strengths. You gotta have the courage to communicate difficult topics and conversations. You gotta be able to talk with your family members about things that they do to you that you don't like. Maybe they just do things in general that you don't respect. You gotta be able to talk with your significant other about finances and sit down with them. Understand that you may be the problem, even though you may not think so. And even if they are the problem, be strong enough to hold back your own emotions and genuinely give them some thought. Being weak isn't just being quiet, isn't just not picking up 100 pounds, but it's pretending that you're strong. Imposing your own ideas over others. In relationships, your strength isn't about controlling your relationship. It's about being there, your presence. What type of quality time are you having with your significant other? Do you just come home, expect food, go to sleep? Or do you set out time to do something for them, with them? You know, a way you can show love as strength is I get up for you. I take care of myself because I love you. That's something that was kind of, I guess, when I first had it, kind of strange to me because my fiance gets so pretty for me. Even though you may see it as, oh, she's just getting pretty for herself because she wants to look pretty. Or she's just getting pretty so she can get attention. It may be right, but whose attention, right? So, within your own soul, the way you can show your strength is staying calm when everything is shaken. From your relationships to your physicality and even your mental health. Being able to understand the situation, stay calm, cool, collected, and doing something about it. That's strength. Continue to practice your faith. Continue to practice your vision. Continue practicing hope, even when no one's there to cheer you on. Learn how to survive. And once you've understood that, learn how to thrive. Because you are a being. Thank you for being.